So let me go back and find the videos. What I have done is I have pulled out a few videos that I know I want to work with. And here they are. They're just short. This first thing that you create doesn't actually have to make total sense. In other words, you can put together a few random clips. What I want to see at the end is that you understand how to bring the content from your camera to your computer into Premiere Pro, how to organize a sequence, probably do some fades, maybe add a screen, a graphic or something, you know, like a title screen, and then how to export it. If you want to make it a coherent project, that's great. But if you just need to show me that, yeah, I understand how to use the program, that's good enough. What I'm going to show you today is I just have these random clips. They're kind of loud, of making olive oil in grease. Okay, so none of it will make any sense, but this is how I begin. So I'm going to open up the program, get that started, and I'll show you my process. And if you have a different process, a different way, go ahead and just shout that out and say, hey, have you ever tried it this way? Because there's a lot of different ways of working with this, okay? So what I'm going to do is start a new project. Now, when this screen comes up that you see right here, get in the habit of naming it. Don't have a bunch of projects that are just, oops, I will spell this correctly. Also, what I want you to do is to make sure you're saving it to the right location. It will default to your documents folder. And I'll be honest with you, I have lost so many projects because I forget to save the Premiere Pro project file. I keep the video that I exported, but I forget to save that. So if I want to go back and make changes. So I like to save my Premiere Pro project in the same location where my videos are. And in this case, it's on an external hard drive. So this is actually technically, when I look at this right here, this is technically going to exactly where I want this to go, okay? I'm not gonna make any other changes there for this time for this particular project, okay? So I say okay. It then brings up a screen which is rather intimidating because you have stuff all over the place. You have all these different panels and these change according to the different types of ways that you're working, whether you're working in the assembly mode or the editing mode or the color mode. All of these will change according to what you're doing. 9 times out of 10, I'm in the editing mode where I see these panels right here. Right now, they're just completely blank because I haven't brought anything in. And my next step then is to go out and get the videos that I want to work with. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Import. I will navigate out to these 4 videos that I have, selecting those, and I will import those into my project. You'll notice now in the lower left-hand corner, I now have these 4 videos, okay, showing that I have started my project. What I can do is when I click on one of these, I double click on it, it will bring it up into this window in the upper left-hand corner that allows me to preview the video so I can see what that thing is. It also allows me, I'm not going to cover this today, but it allows me to set in and out points. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it allows me to see what it is. And so what I need to do is figure out which is the first video that I'm going to work with. And the first video that I'm going to work with is this one. So I will then bring that over and I'll drag that over to my timeline. So in this lower portion down here, I don't know if you can see that. Is everybody able to see this screen well? Is that a yes? I mean, is it clear enough? Okay. And if I'm going too quickly, just tell me to slow down, okay? So that brings my image into my timeline, or this first video clip. And then the video clip is in the upper right screen, and that shows me then, that's sort of my main screen, showing me how I'm assembling my movie, okay? And so if I just pull through that, you can see that's my video. Now, when I bring my movies in, I've already set my program up so that the sound and the movie are actually separate from one another, okay? If you need to delete the sound that you brought in because you don't want it, all I want is the video. Control click or right click on your video and go to, this would say link or unlink, okay? And I can unlink the video so that, or the video from the audio so I can delete one, okay? Because 9 times out of 10, what I recorded with the camera isn't necessarily the sound that I want to end up with in the end. I'm gonna leave it there for now, but keep in mind that that's how you can separate those. I need my next video, which is this one, I'll bring over. And then I have another one. I think I'm gonna go with this one next. And this one last. Okay, so now I have all my videos on my timeline. I can go ahead and get rid of the sound because I'm not going to use that sound because it's just a bunch of noise. And I think it would interfere with our process of doing the demo today. Now, once I have that there, my spacebar will allow me to quickly move my cursor over to the beginning of my clips, and then I can sort of watch what I have put together. Okay, so this is what I have. This is how olive oil is made in Greece. Those are raw olives. They're green and some are brown. And then they go into this machine, which turns them into this green mush right there. And you can see part of that image was out of focus. So I'm gonna cut some of that out. I'm gonna take some of that out of this. And then after it goes, I don't have the part where it goes into another machine, but now they're filling bottles. And then as we move forward, it's just the bottles are getting labeled and all that sort of thing. So that's what I have at the moment. Key is to, it doesn't auto-save. So Premiere Pro will actually save on a regular basis, but I still get in the habit, because I don't want to lose any of my work, I get in the habit of Command S, saving, and I'm doing that repeatedly as I'm making my work. Because like I said, I don't want to lose any of what I've created. Okay, now, once it's down here on my timeline, it's actually pretty tiny. And so it's kind of hard to work with this and to see exactly what I have. This bar at the very bottom allows me to sort of stretch this out so I can see those larger. The bars on the right side allow me to make the clips taller so I can actually see the image. And it's also important so that I can see this white line that goes through. That's going to be key, and we're going to use that in just a few minutes for how I can set some keyframes and make some changes to my video. And I can also do that if I had sound. If I'd kept that, I can expand that out. I do like to expand these out so I can actually see, and I also like to expand this out so I can see that sometimes you can end up with a tiny little gap, and you might not see that when this thing is reduced down to this size, where I might not know that I'm going to end up with a black hole basically in the middle of my video because I have a gap. Okay. Okay. So far so good. We have things on the screen. But I have, when I get over here, I have part of this video right here that is out of focus. I don't want it. Okay. There's many different ways of doing this, but this is the method that I use. I have the original video here in my bin over here on the left-hand side. So this is basically a copy of it. What I can do now is go over, slide the playhead to where I have this thing in focus. So right about there is where it starts to be in focus. That's part of the video that I want to keep from here over, okay? And I know that's not very appetizing, that green mush, but it does make some really good olive oil. I'm going to come over here to the tools that I have on the side of my timeline. Everybody see those? Is that a yes? Okay.
Yes.
If I don't hear a no, I'll continue. I'm going to grab the razor blade. I simply will click right where the playhead is. It has now cut that thing into two parts. This first part of this, I can now delete because I did not want that part that was out of focus. And I'll just slide this over. And I'm not worried about transitions at this point in time. If you want to get into transitions, great. I'm going to show you a couple simple ones. But in this case, for the first week, all I really need to see is that you understand how to put together the most basic thing. Okay, and I'll slide those over so I don't have any gaps. Okay, so I've taken out a little bit, and I could do that for any part of any of these videos, any part that I don't want. The other thing that you can do too is when I select a video and I control click, brings up this screen. Right here, speed and duration. I can change the speed of this film clip. I can increase its speed or slow it down. I can reverse it. And so there's a number of things I can do right here at this point in time. I just want to leave it at the speed it was filmed at. I'm not going to make any changes, but if I wanted to speed this up or slow it down, that's how I do it. So just remember that's a control click or an option. Yeah, control click on your thing to get to that. The thing I find working with Premiere, it sometimes feels so overwhelming because there's so many different windows and things like that. But I think if you keep in mind what you're shooting for, you can sort of ignore some of the things you don't need to deal with. Now I am going to show you just basic color correction. I have one clip selected. I'm going to go to the color mode, which changes my panels. So you can see the panels have changed. And on this far right-hand side, I have basically the exact same type of options that I have in Photoshop, where I can adjust
Where was color mode one more time?
Exposure of my film clip, just as you would a still image. I can adjust its temperature and I can tint it. I could make this thing all green. I could make it orange. I could change all of that. So it's very easy for you to take a film clip that might be too dark and to brighten it up. A film clip that's maybe has low contrast, you could push that up. And it doesn't dramatically change it.
Can you go back and show us where that color part was again?
It really depends on the film clip itself.
Hello?
So I could make some changes. And
Hello?
remember that all of what you do is non-destructive.
Dan?
Because you have the original film clip back over here in your bin. So if you have applied a whole bunch of things that you don't like, you can simply delete this, bring that film clip back in from your bin, and start over.
Dan?
Okay? And you can also, I think you can just hit reset there
Dan.
on like color and on some others as well, and just remove it.
Hello.
Also, you'll notice that in the upper left-hand corner, now that I have selected the color mode, I have some of these other controls that we're going to talk about today and more next week for sure. Because it gets a little confusing.
Dan.
So there's a million different things you can do to this. But remember that Premiere is
Did he mute us?
like an InDesign where we are organizing, putting them in order, figuring out exactly what they want to be, and then exporting it into the format we want. Okay, so a little bit of color. But actually what I want at the beginning of my movie, and I'm going to bring this back down, is I'm going to push this over a little bit because I actually want to add a title screen. Hello. Who said hello?
Here, can you hear us, Dan?
Yes, sorry. I ask your question again.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh, I was trying to find out how you got to the color section.
Okay, so I select one clip, okay? And what I do at the very top of my screen, and maybe you can't see that, I'll pull that down so you can see it, maybe better. There's a tab right here that says color.
Hey, Dan?
Yes.
Is there a way for you to put your cursor a little bit bigger?
I don't think there is, unfortunately. I will research that and see if I can. But
Okay.
I don't know right off the top of my head how I can do that. I'm sorry. So can you see it better there where you have at the very top, it goes from learning, assembly, editing, color.
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
see that.
That's how you get into your different modes.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry, didn't mean to go too quick there.
No, you're good.
Okay. Does that answer? Okay. So what I want to do now is down here where I have my timeline, I want to add in a title screen or something like that, identifying what this movie is about, okay? So what I'm going to do then is go to the graphics tab, and I click on that, okay? And it brings up then on this right-hand column over here, I don't know if you can see that, all these different types of titles that it has built into it, okay? And there's a million of them. Some have all kinds of fancy graphics and all this sort of thing. For this week, I'm going to choose something super basic, okay? The best way to learn any of these programs is actually to play with them. Find out if I choose this thing, can I figure out how to make it work? And to be honest with you, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to grab a title screen and I'm going to bring it down here. I'll move my playhead back to the beginning, and you can see then here is where I can put some information in. Okay, let's see, this was fall of 2016. Okay, oops, not 2019, I think that would be a bit in the future there. Okay, so that allows me to create then this basic, just super basic title screen. And I'll bump my stuff back over here. But before I do that, I want to show you that this thing comes in, the title screen comes in with a set amount of time. If I want to make that larger, I will simply go near the edge of this and I can pull that out, or I could push that back in to make it shorter. I can't really do that with a film clip because they already have a set amount of time that you shot them. Okay, I can make changes to those, but in a slightly different way. So I'm going to pull these back over. And then this is the movie that I have so far. Okay, boring. Then you jump to this, and you can see that when we jump from one to the next, it's kind of jarring. So what we want to have are maybe some fades. Maybe we want to fade in or out. And so I want to make some changes. I'm going to go back to my editing mode because I'm done with that one for now. I'm just going to leave this just basic white text on a black background. I'm going to expand this out so I can get to that little white line a little bit better. What I'm going to do now is add in what are the most important things in doing video is your keyframes. And keyframe is simply a marker that says at this point in time, something is going to change. It's going to change size, it's going to change color, it's going to change opacity, something is going to change. And so what I can do then is I can click on this little tiny dot. Everybody see that right there? You can see I have video, and right there, I click on that, it adds a dot right there. I don't know if you can see that. And that simply is a keyframe. I can move back to the very beginning of my clip. I can also add a keyframe there, and then I can actually pull this down so that my titles screen will fade in. And I didn't do any of that in my effects panel, which would be in the upper left-hand corner, because I can do that live right here on my timeline. This is where Premiere and After Effects gets into what system and how do you like to work and what works best for you. Some of the things you can do on your timeline, some things you need to do in this panel in the upper left-hand corner. And so it really is down to you. I'll move my cursor ahead, add in another keyframe, move it ahead again, another keyframe, and I can make that fade. I can also make this one fade in, move ahead to that, move that down. I usually do my things, I will move ahead to where I want it to become full strength. I'll add my keyframe, and I can have this fade in. And I can adjust that. Because this is a really quick and easy way for you to make adjustments. And now we have this, so that fades away, this fades in just ever so gracefully, okay? And then I've got my piece going So far, so good. I could add fades between these, but I don't know that do I need to show that again, or do you have that down? That makes sense? It's a very quick and easy way to make these fades. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna look at my notes, make sure I've got everything. So we've gone over how to trim. We've gone over how to add them to our timeline. We have gone over how to make a fade. Okay. Frankly, that might be all that I do. I'm not going to add any sound in. I could. I do have a ton of audio that I picked up for free, and I can't remember how I did it. And I will send you a link to that. But if I wanted to add audio to this, I simply click on the audio tab at the top. That brings up my audio files that I have access to. I'll just add in audio just for the heck of it. And I'll just bring in this thing. I don't know what it sounds like. Okay. Didn't mean to play it. Come on, move over. Where did I drop it? Okay. Well, anyway, now we have some crazy audio in here. Not exactly where I wanted it to be. I'm going to undo that. Ah, come on, go away. Maybe it didn't go in there. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here. I keep wanting to put that in and it's not going in. Forget audio for the moment, okay? If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can use the audio that you have in your clip already. Okay, so now that I have everything in place, let's pretend that this is the totality of my piece. It's 1:20 seconds. The piece that you create this week doesn't have to be long. It does not have to be long at all. It's basically just do you understand how to use these basic things. And that's all I'm going for this first week. Next week, we'll get into a little bit more depth. And this is also a test of your system. Does your computer work correctly? Does your camera work? Can you get a video and all of that sort of thing? So my next step then is I want to export this, okay? Exporting it, I'll be honest with you, is the most confusing part of this entire process because there's a billion different ways that you can export this thing. There are so many different file formats for video. I'm going to have you use one which will allow you to upload your finished content directly to YouTube easily, or you can put it into Canvas, but I'm really thinking YouTube is much faster and easier for all of us to, because Canvas does have some limitations. So I'm going to go over here to my menu and go to export. I'm going to export my media. And here's some settings that you should have. And these are really critical. Okay, so at the very top where it says format, make sure it chooses the H.264 format. Okay, because that's one of the best ones to use for this. Preset, I can click on that and I'm going to drop down to way down here towards the bottom. I'm simply going to do a YouTube 1080 full HD, which is a high enough quality for anything that we're going to do for right now. Later, when you get into this more deeply and you feel that, no, I want this to go to a particular platform. I want this to go to whatever, wherever you're going to show this. You can then experiment with exporting this in different ways. So I simply hit that. Now I don't need to add it to my queue because I think as simple as this one is, I'm simply going to hit export. And depending upon how complex and how large this is and how fast your computer is, this can take anywhere from a minute to an hour, depending upon the type of image that you create. Something this short should only take a minute or two to export. Okay, and then you'll end up with the right type of file format that you can easily put up to your YouTube channel, and you'll have this first week project finished. Like I said, it doesn't have to be coherent, it doesn't have to make sense, it just has to show me that you understand how to put together something as simple as that. Okay, now where that is, let me see if I got it in the right place. And here's my movie that I just made. And there's my movie, okay? Making olive oil in Greece. Bingo, no sound, don't need it. And that's my movie. And you can see it's an MP4 file, and it's 179 megabytes, so not very large, easy to upload.